3 years ago, we were delivering 4 builds. This year, we're going to aim for 40. And my executive team still expects the same level of visibility they got when we were doing 4. And he said, Paul, I can't tell you where 40 of my $160 million budget stands. I just can't. At a certain scale, work management is no longer administrative support. It becomes delivery infrastructure. When your work management infrastructure fails, projects slow down, lose visibility, and bleed cost. And that confidence comes from having the right operating solution. And that is
Paul Koetke is the founder of Koetke Consulting. He helps data center companies build the operational infrastructure to meet exponentially growing capacity demands.
Welcome to the Built to Scale podcast. I'm Paul Koetke. This show exists for one reason: to spotlight the operators, developers, and real estate leaders who are quietly solving the big operational scalability challenges in the data center industry right now. If you're a VP at a data center company trying to manage growth at 10 times the pace you were 2 years ago, if you're trying to scale delivery without losing visibility, this show is for you. This is episode 0. And before I bring on guests, I want to tell you why the show exists and what we're here to do. So let's get into it. The data center industry is not just in a growth cycle. It's at a critical scalability inflection point. You already know the headlines: AI, GPUs, power constraints. These are real and they matter. But there's a less discussed pressure point that I keep seeing. Delivery systems are being asked to absorb 10x growth, and the old playbook just isn't holding up. If you're a VP or director leading in this space, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're being asked to move faster than ever while maintaining quality, safety, and visibility. And here's the kicker. You're supposed to do this with the same reporting cadence, the same tools, and often the same size team you had 2 years ago. I had a conversation last month with the VP of development at a major data center operator. He told me something that stuck with me. He said, Paul, 3 years ago, we were delivering 4 builds. This year, we're going to aim for 40. And my executive team still expects the same level of visibility they got when we were doing 4. That's the moment. That's the inflection point in real world terms. Here's what I believe. AI growth will not be won by whoever secures power and land first. It will be won by the teams that can repeatedly turn opportunity into executable, visible, and governed projects. And right now, the old operating model just isn't working anymore. So how did I end up here? 4 years ago, I started working with a major data center operator, and they provide both hyperscale and colocation services. And at the time, they'd been doing a couple of new campuses per year, and that was their pace and everything was working. Then AI comes in and changes everything. They need to scale by a factor of 10. And instead of delivering campuses of 50 to 200 megawatts each, they're now targeting gigawatt campuses. But here's the problem. They're running everything on a handful of spreadsheets, and it just wasn't scalable. They could not keep up with it. So what we did was start building out visibility for the growing team. We built a standardized process so that they could compare campuses in real time, apples to apples. They could actually understand what was happening and provide that real data to leadership, which will help them make better decisions on which properties to acquire and accelerate that process. That was my initial experience at the data center. And then, very soon after, I had other teams within the same organization reaching out saying, hey, this is really cool what you built over here. We need the same thing for our team. We're feeling the same pain. We're going through the same growth pressures. We need to have a similar solution to help us build as well. And that's when I realized something important. This isn't just one individual localized challenge that a specific team is facing, but something that is broadly applying across entire data center companies and the entire industry as a whole. Everyone in this industry has such great knowledge. People know how to operate the data centers, how to build them, how to acquire sites. But the question is, how do you manage that consistently, repeatedly, and reliably as the company grows and accelerates? How do you add more people, more projects, and more complexity and keep it all going? And that was a defining moment for me, because after that, I started working with a couple other companies in the space, and I kept seeing the same thing. They were all facing the same challenges. This is an industry-wide challenge that everyone's going through with this AI inflection point in the scalability sense. Now, I want to be really clear about something. I'm not claiming to know more about data centers than the operators, developers, and real estate leaders who live this every day. That's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is that I've spent over a decade helping teams translate messy operational reality into systems that actually scale. I work every day with people who are facing these challenges head on. I've seen the systems that fail, and we've built new resilient systems that scale. That's been my work, helping teams build Smartsheet-based solutions for work management at scale. And this experience has taught me something. It's not just a tools problem. There's a deeper gap that people aren't really talking about yet. The industry talks constantly about power availability and site selection. Those are really, really important constraints, but this show is focused on a quieter constraint, which is organizational throughput. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I was on a discovery call a few months ago with a VP of Capital at Data Center. Really smart guy, 20 years in the industry, absolutely knows what he's doing. But he told me something that I'm never going to forget. And he said, Paul, I can't tell you where 40 of my $160 million budget stands. I just can't. It's going to take me a week to pull all that information together. And he explained that his team was managing hundreds of active projects across 30 plus facilities. And every week, leadership needs to report out and status updates. And every week, his team spent a couple days chasing people down, pulling data from multiple different tools, copying and pasting to PowerPoint, creating this deck that would be sent out. And then by the time it arrived with leadership, it was already a couple days old. And so they're not even getting real information or real-time information. This VP said, we're not slow because we can't deliver. We're slow because we can't decide. That is organizational throughput. And here's the pattern that I see over and over again. Projects are multiplying faster than processes mature. Reporting gets more frequent, but not necessarily more useful. Teams add more tools, more spreadsheets, more meetings, and leaders still can't answer the basic questions in a timely manner. What's actually blocked up right now? Which commitments just changed? Where do we have capacity? And what decision is waiting on me? I keep hearing the same 3 pain points on every new call with a client. First is the inability to scale current processes. When you go from managing 10 projects to managing 50, you can't just do the same thing 5 times harder. The process breaks. And when it breaks, every team starts inventing their own little workarounds and you lose consistency. Second is the lack of visibility. And I don't mean dashboards. I mean confidence. When a VP gets asked a question in an executive meeting and they know their answer is current. Not from last week's report, not from an email thread they might have missed, but current real-time information. And third is the time pressure. Everyone is feeling this. And this one creates the most damage because it forces people into a reactive firefighting mode. They start managing work outside the system, taking shortcuts, saying, we don't have time to upload this because we're too busy. And 6 months later, nobody trusts any of the data anymore. It's a total breakdown. A phrase I use a lot is that at a certain scale, work management is no longer administrative support. It becomes delivery infrastructure. When your work management infrastructure fails, projects slow down, lose visibility, and bleed cost. That's not an administrative problem. That is a delivery problem. People aren't looking for more dashboards. They're looking for confidence. Confidence that the information is current, confidence that the process is repeatable, confidence that the team can scale without losing control. And that confidence comes from having the right operating solution. And that is the gap. So let me tell you what I'm trying to do about it. And let me be direct about what this podcast is and what it isn't. This podcast is not here to lecture the data center industry. It is here to learn from and spotlight the leaders building throughout one of the most demanding infrastructure moments in this industry. My guests are VPs of real estate development, operations, facilities maintenance, and more who are quietly solving these hard problems behind the AI boom. The people making it real, not just the ones announcing it. And here's why that matters now. The industry is moving too fast for the best ideas to stay trapped inside internal meetings or private lessons learned. The operators who figure out how to scale delivery, visibility, governance, and repeatability are going to win over the next 5 years. And this show exists to surface that practical wisdom. I want to emphasize something important. This show exists to make operators feel seen. Not just the companies announcing the megawatt deals, but the people responsible for making those commitments real. That's you, and your perspective matters. So here's my invitation. If you're the leader of a data center company stepping up to take this scalability moment head on, this show is built for your world. I'm talking to leaders at companies like Digital Realty, Stack Infrastructure, CyrusOne, Vantage Data Centers, DataBake, Flextential, Align Data Centers, Compass Data Centers, and Switch. And if you're solving these problems in the real world, your perspective deserves to be heard by your peers who are wrestling with the same growth curve. I'd like to invite you to join me for a conversation on what it really takes to scale data center delivery in the AI era. Not a press release version, the operational truth. If that resonates, I'd be honored to have you on the show. Let's build something worth listening to.
Connect with Paul at koetkeconsulting.com or on LinkedIn. More episodes on the way. Reach out if you're ready to scale.